How would you like to know the best line to run at Kokomo along with the setup to use for qualifying and the feature? Well, if you'd like to know that, then stick around, because in this video I'm going to be showing you exactly how to get around Kokomo and the Dirt Midget, how to set up for qualifying, and how to set it up for the feature so you can go out and run the official races this week and hopefully compete for wins. All of that and more right after this. What's up, everybody? Thomas Brandon here, and welcome to another School of Sim Racing video. Now, in this video, like I said, we're going to be covering the Dirt Midgets at Kokomo. Now, it is week 1 of season 3 in iRacing, and it's today's Friday at the time of recording this, so we've got a couple more days of this first week of the season. Now, I've been putting out a couple of videos. I've already put out a couple of videos. I put out one yesterday and the one the day before, the 360s and the 410 sprints. And I'm going to try to get out a non-wing video, USAC sprint car video, and then also a late model video, basically doing the same thing. Now, like I said in the previous videos, the reason I'm doing that is because this is pretty much kind of an example of what I'm doing with the new Insider program, where for $2 a month you can get access to this exact thing. So you'll get a weekly video breaking down the setups, the adjustments, what lines to run, how to look at the track, where to run, that type of stuff. And then I'm also giving you my setups, my qualifying setup, my feature setup, so you can go out, load them up, and run and be competitive. Now, if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then make sure to stick around, because I'm going to be putting out the information on that this coming week. And like I said, it's only going to be $2 a month per class, which is 50 cents a week. And if you look at it, it's 25 cents a setup. So it's really, really cheap. I mean, you can't get a stick of gum for 25 cents. So let's dive in to the qualifying setup. Now, Kokomo is a pretty tricky track in the sense that even though it's a quarter mile, it's so wide and it's D-shaped. Because of that, you can really get a lot of momentum and speed at this track. This track, for the non-wing cars, the midgets and the USAC sprints, is one of my favorite, if not my favorite. Like this one and Lima Land are probably my 2 favorite tracks when it comes to the USAC cars, both midgets and sprints. Now, we're going to be running 5 inches of stagger, and that'll pretty much be what we run like the whole night. And the reason is because, like I said, turns 1 and 2 are a little bit sharper going in, and then you've got this big sweeping backstretch where you come in on 3 and 4 and you sweep in, and then you have to really cut it off because you got that straightaway. And so too much stagger, and we're going to be spinning ourselves around in 1 and 2, and not enough stagger, and we're going to have to be really whipping it in 3 and 4. And so trying to find that balance between the 2 turns can sometimes be difficult. And for me, I found 5 inches seems to be that sweet spot. So that's what we're going to go with. Now, for our chassis setup, this is a pretty straightforward, pretty standard setup. So we're going to be doing 185 here on the coil and 175 on the right front and 175 on the left front. And those are the springs on the coilover shocks. Midgets do run coilovers. And then our offsets, we've got at 3.875 and 4.125. Those are the shock collar offsets, and those adjust the ride height in the front end. What you'll notice with iRacing setups is that they are almost always, like 99% of the time, they're always all the way up. This causes the car to feel really unstable. So if you've ever driven a midget before and it feels like it's kind of bouncing around and your wheels always moving and you're like, dude, these things are a handful. A lot of that has to do with them not having the correct ride height for the car. And if you lower these things down some, which the bigger the number on the offset, the lower the car in the front end, the more stable it feels. And so I typically will start somewhere between, 4.5 and 3.5 on the offsets. It really depends on what track I'm at. But here, we're kind of just splitting the difference. We're right around 4. We got 4.125 and 3.875. Okay? Now, our shocks, on the left front, we've got a 3 on the bump and a 4 on the rebound. So it's not like a hardcore tie down, but we are going to hold that down just a little bit here in qualifying. And then on the right front, we've got ourselves an easy up shock. The reason being is these things roll so much to the right because we don't have wings on top. We want to get as much weight transfer to that left rear when we get on the gas, okay? Now, here in the rear, we're going to be running 775 bars straight across the back. This track is flat and then it's banked, and the banking can be really, really extreme. Now, later on in the feature setup, we'll actually look at doing some reverse split, but right now, we're going to be going just straight across the back. Now, these are kind of average in terms of stiffness. Remember, the stiffer the bar, right? A bar is nothing but a glorified spring. That's all it is. It's just a fancy spring. So what happens with a torsion bar is the bar, when the suspension compresses, the bar twists, and it's that untwisting that gives it that spring-like action where it's applying the force. So when we think about the weights, weight on the corner, there's two things that you have to consider. There's weight transfer, and then there's applied force, okay? So you can have a ton of weight transferred to the right rear, but the car will still not be hooked up, and that's because you don't have any applied force. The bar is what helps to apply that force. So the softer the bar, the more weight transfer you're going to get to that corner, but the less applied force, meaning the less weight is actually being applied to the contact patch or the tire, okay? Now, the stiffer the bar, the more applied force, all right? So we're going to be going with the pretty much right in the middle. 775 is like right in the middle because the low is 700, the high is 850. So we're kind of in the middle there. Those work pretty good here on the shorter tracks. Now, for our shocks, we have a straight 4 on the right rear, and then we have a 3.7 on the left rear. And then our wheel spacing is 18 1/4, and then 8. Our fuel right now is 3 gallons. 3 gallons in the midgets gives us about 11 laps, so that's pretty much what you would run for like a heat race. For qualifying, I'll drop it down to 2 gallons, and we'll, just take a quarter turnout, get that ride height back where we want it, and we're good to go, okay? So let's go lay down some qualifying laps, shall we? Now, when it comes to qualifying at Kokomo, the bottom is where you want to be. Now, when you're running the bottom, though, in qualifying, you want to be using up quite a bit of track, meaning you want to really sweep down on these corners and then come out so you can get a lot of momentum. You really want to keep the momentum up with these cars. I mean, you want to do it with all cars, but really with these cars, okay? It makes a huge, huge difference. So let me show you how we're going to do this, all right? We're going to sweep down. We're just going to let the throttle breathe a little bit, get back in the gas. You can hear I'm basically holding it wide open there. And be careful of that. I'm going to be honest with you. The setup, you could probably get a 12.4. I've done down to like 12.4 myself here at Kokomo. I've only got fast time like once or twice at Kokomo. I am not the best qualifier at Kokomo. I don't know why. For some reason, I'm just not. And part of it is because the line that you have to run, I usually carry too much momentum into 1 and 2, and I usually will get out of whack. So if you're a little bit smoother than me, you can probably knock a tenth or two off the times because the setup is definitely fast. It's just, for me, I usually pick up the front wheels or over-rotate or something like that. Like I usually, here at Kokomo, for some reason, I just can't qualify that good. But like I said, the setup is fast. Now, how about for the heat race, right? After we qualify, what do we do for the heat race? Well, with these cars, I'm going to be honest with you, there's not much you need to do. In fact, the track is going to be almost the same as it is in qualifying because the midgets don't burn up the track like the sprint cars do. So when it comes to making adjustments, all you really want to do is add some fuel, right? And, like I said, 3 gallons will give you about 11 laps. And so we can go with 3 gallons. Maybe put a little quarter turn back in there to get our ride height back where it was. And then that's it. Like, that's all I'm going to do for this setup for the heat race. I'm going to be leaving it as is. And when it comes to running the heat race, you're going to basically run a similar line as you would in qualifying. Now, here's the deal, though. In qualifying, you're by yourself, so you can sweep out and do all that stuff. Unless you're in the lead and you've got a big lead, you can't really do that because you're going to have cars around you. So how do you run this track? Well, the high line, when the track is fresh, is not the fastest way around with these cars. Now, like with the sprint cars or the late models, like you want to be up top, wide open, around the top. With these, the bottom, middle down is where you want to be. And so when you're going to be running in the heat race, you're really wanting to get down low and stay down there. And so you're going to be using a little bit more throttle control. You don't want to slide up as much. You can tap the brake a little bit going into the corner, just so you don't slide up near as much. Help you hold your line a little bit, like that. If you lift up the front wheels, get out of the gas. Like I said, this car's really hooked up. Okay? And if you want to go around somebody, well, then what you can do is you can actually go around them in the middle. If you can run one of those 2 lines and do it smooth and consistently, you're going to do pretty well in your heat race with the midgets. You really will. We go back and look at our laps real quick. We're running, high 12s. When you factor in other cars on the track around you, it'll be pretty good. Obviously, when you're racing, it's going to be much, much different. And, the bad thing about testing, and looking at times is times can vary. I mean, you get a session where the track is cooler than this. I don't know what the temperature is here right now. It's cool. It's down in the 60s, right? So, I mean, you get a track that's hotter than this, your times might be slower, right? So a lot of it's going to depend on who you're racing against, what the track temperatures is, what the track state is, how it started off. We're about a 10 or 12% track now after the laps I've done. And so it's really going to depend. But this setup and those lines, run them, okay, and you will do good here. I've done very, very well at Kokomo with this exact setup, running the exact lines I just showed you. Now, how do we make it in the feature? Well, that is another story, because when this track slicks off, it's a completely different ballgame. So let's head over and take a look at the slick track. All right, so now it's time for the main event, right? Now it's time for the feature. Now, when it comes to the midgets in the official races, typically the track doesn't slick off as much as the sprint cars. So normally for the sprint cars, the feature starts somewhere right around a 50% track. With the midgets, it seems like it's more about a 40% track. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it depends on the split, but also depends on the number of cars. iRacing will, if there's 20 cars that register, they'll split that up into 2 10-car splits, which kind of sucks, in my opinion. And so you get 2 heat races or 1 heat race and no consolation. Now it's the feature, and the track's 20% or something like that. Even if you have 2 heat races, there's no consi. You end up with like a 30 or 40% track. Now, I don't like slick tracks. Okay, I think slick tracks suck. They're not fun. You can have 2 groove racing without having a track that looks like black ice. But I do like having more cars, right? Because you want to have a full field at least, right? It's boring if there's 8 of you. So anyways, I'm rambling about another issue. But anyways, so the track state is usually around about 40% at the start of the feature. So what are we going to do with our setup? Well, the first thing is that I want to move this right rear in a little bit, and I want to move the left rear out a little bit. What this does is the right rear, when you move that in, that's going to tighten up the car basically through the whole corner. And even though we might not be running on like an actual dry slick patch, when the track dries out, it loses grip everywhere. And so we do want to compensate for that. This will help us stay ahead of it. And on the left rear, this is going to help us off, with our exit, okay? So we want to make sure that we're at least, doing a few adjustments to stay ahead. Now, one of the really nice things about the midgets is we can actually make shock adjustments during the race. Now, that is a separate video to get into all the stuff that we would have to do, but you can make adjustments with your shocks in the race. And so for me, I will actually make a couple little adjustments, okay? And then I start racing. The first caution I get, if I need to make a change with the shocks, I'll make it. Now, one adjustment that you can make, because I'm going to do this for the feature setup, is I'm going to increase the rebound a little bit here on the right rear. And that will help also tighten the car a little bit on entry. And we want to do this because, like I said, the track, even though it's not super slick right now, it is going to start slicking off a whole lot more in the feature, especially if you have like 12, 15, 16 cars on the track. You get all those cars running, the track's going to start changing every few laps. And so the car might be a little tight at the start of the race, but that's okay. It will feel better as the race goes on. And like I said, we can always change it on caution, right? We can just go into our black box and make a change. So anyways, what else? Well, there's only one more thing that I'm going to do, and I'm going to drop the gear to a 630. Now, why am I going to do that? The reason I'm going to do that is in the feature, I like to run up high. And the 630 will still give me enough low end to where I can run the bottom. Because remember, the track is still going to be losing grip. It's not going to be as hooked up as it was in heat race or qualifying. So that 630 for me in the feature does a really good job of running both the top and the bottom. Okay. So those are the adjustments that we're going to make, right? Not a whole lot that we're going to make with this car on this track. So let's go out and turn a few laps and see how it feels. Now, as you can see, we still have quite a bit of fresh track down here on the bottom. So this is definitely, where I would be running myself personally. You can see the car is definitely hooked up. We're picking up the front end. Got to make sure you stay in the throttle so you don't wheelie. Is a little tight right now, but that's okay. Like I said, that'll come to us. One thing that you can do if the car's a little tight on entry with these midgets is you can just give a little tap to the brake, and I mean very little tap, and that'll help rotate it. Whoa, got into the grass there. I was really trying to cut that corner. So give a little tap just like that, and that'll help the car rotate. But you got to be careful, because if you do that, what happens is then the car is going to want to pick up the front end if you slow it down too much. You got to really control that throttle. Now, the bottom, like I said, is basically what we just covered, right? Stay down low. When you swoop out, don't go up further than halfway unless the car really pushes on you. And if the car does push on you, one thing you can do is tap the brake, and that'll help the car to where it'll, kind of get it rotated around so now you're not snow plowing up the track. All right. So what about the top? Well, the top, this is really, to me, it's really fun, but it can also be a challenge because you're going to carry so much momentum in 3 and 4, and you got it snapping off. And then 1 and 2, you got to get it rotated, but you don't want to rotate it too much because you want to carry that momentum through the corner. So you really got to work the throttle, and you can use a little brake to help yourself, you know, correct, stay off the wall, you start sliding, but you're just really trail braking. You're not like stabbing it or anything like that. See, the car's definitely hooked up here on top. This is one of the few tracks that I actually like it when it slicks off more, so then I can run the top, because I love running the top here at Kokomo. It's a lot of fun. And that's it, you guys. That is how you run at Kokomo and the setups I use to do so. Like the other videos I did yesterday and the day before, all right, the setups will be down in the description below. Just click on the link, download it, and then install them into the iRacing folder for the setups for the Dirt Midgets, and you'll be good to go. You'll be able to upload these into the race, okay? And that's going to do it. That's it. Now, really quick, before we go, do me a favor. If you like this video, please hit the like button. And then if you have not subscribed yet, subscribe. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified when I put out any more videos like this. Like I said, I got a couple more that I'm putting out this week alone that are going to be similar to this. We're going to be doing the non-wing sprint cars next, and then the pro late models. Actually, I'm going to do the pro late models first at Charlotte. That'll be tomorrow, and then I'll be doing the non-wing sprint cars on Sunday. So that'll give you only like, you know, a day and a half to do the non-wing stuff if you run those. But either way, it'll give you an idea of what we're doing for the insider stuff. So please hit that like button, subscribe, and you know what? Share this. If you know other people in the iRacing community right now is really big, and the dirt side is really growing as of late. There's a lot of people coming to the dirt side, which is awesome. Hopefully they'll start giving the dirt side a little bit more attention. That would be great. But share this, get this out there. Help these drivers, right? There's a lot of people who struggle not just with midgets but with sprint cars and everything else when it comes to the dirt. So share these videos, get them out there to other people. Let's have a nice, fun, clean experience where people aren't wrecking into each other and then yelling at each other because they don't know what they're doing, right? Let's help them get to that level so we can all go out and race each other and have fun on the track, as opposed to, you know, posting videos in forums saying, hey, whose fault is this, right? Like, we don't want to do that. We want to be racing. That's what this is all about. So share these videos, get it out there, all right? And if you do all that for me, then I'll be back here again tomorrow with another one. And until then, as always, I want to wish you good luck, good racing, take care, see you in the next video, and until then, have a good one.